Hi, and thank you so much for tuning in to Armstrong Channel 20 and 100. I am Miss Chrissy, and today we are at Campbell Elementary with Mrs. McGoogan's first grade class. We are going to be exploring all the variants of our ocean, and today the story that I chose is about sea life. It is actually called A Hole in the Bottom of the Sea, and it's by Jessica Law. I hope you enjoy. Good morning, boys and girls.
Good morning.
You can say my name. Good morning.
Good morning, Mrs. Chrissy.
I am so glad to be here with you guys, and I brought a special book with us on our reading adventure today. Can somebody tell me by the look and a show of hands what you think this adventure is going to be about? Young lady.
Sharks?
Maybe sharks. Sir?
About stuff that lives under the sea.
Maybe. Somebody's using their eagle eyes to read some of the words. Very good. Yes, ma'am.
Picture shark.
It's got all kinds of pictures, doesn't it? So here's some of the animals. This book is called A Hole in the Bottom of the Sea. The sea is another word for ocean, right? And these are some of the animals that can live in the sea. That is their habitat. So let's begin. A hole in the bottom of the sea. There's a hole. There's a hole. There's a hole in the bottom of the sea. There's a hole in the bottom of the sea. There's a hole. There's a hole. There's a hole in the bottom of the sea. There's a shark in a hole in the bottom of the sea. In the dark, in the hole, in the bottom of the sea. There's a hole, there's a hole, there's a hole in the bottom of the sea. There's an eel and a shark in the hole in the bottom of the sea. He's concealed from the shark in the hole in the bottom of the sea. There's a hole, there's a hole, there's a hole in the bottom of the sea. There's a squid and an eel and a shark in the hole in the bottom of the sea, who hid from the eel and the shark in the hole in the bottom of the sea. There's a hole, there's a hole, there's a hole in the bottom of the sea. There's a crab and a squid and an eel and a shark in the hole in the bottom of the sea. Claws that grab at the squid and the eel and the shark in the hole in the bottom of the sea. There's a hole, there's a hole, there's a hole in the bottom of the sea. There's a snail and a crab and a squid and an eel and a shark in the hole in the bottom of the sea. Leaves a trail past the crab and the squid and the eel and the shark in the hole in the bottom of the sea. There's a hole, there's a hole, there's a hole in the bottom of the sea. There's a weed and a snail and a crab and a squid and an eel and a shark in the hole in the bottom of the sea. Grows at speed past the snail and the crab and the squid and the eel and the shark in the hole of the bottom of the sea. There's a hole, there's a hole, there's a hole in the bottom of the sea. The sun feeds the weeds in the snail. The sun feeds the weeds. The snail feeds the crab, feeds the squid, feeds the eel, feeds the shark in the hole in the bottom of the sea. There's a hole, there's a hole, there's a hole in the bottom of the sea. So what was the first creature that we talked about? Number one. Yes, a shark. Very good. How about number two? What was this green guy called? Yes. An eel, very good. And number 3. Yes. You, yes. A squid, very good. And number 4. Number 4. Very good. And number 5. What is this one? Is that a snail? Yeah, it looks like it, doesn't it? So the song that went, so we're gonna go back and we're gonna look over this. And Miss Chrissy's gonna read it, and you guys are now gonna be able to say something that repeated. Do you remember what it was? Can we say it together? There's a hole, there's a hole, there's a hole in the bottom of the sea. Yeah, and we can actually do it with a beat, can't we? Because that sounds like it could be a song. Ready? There's a hole in the bottom of the sea. There's a hole in the bottom of the sea. There's a hole, there's a hole, there's a hole in the bottom of the sea. Here it comes. There's a shark in the hole in the bottom of the sea. In the dark, in the hole in the bottom of the sea. Ready? There's a hole, there's a hole, there's a hole in the bottom of the sea. Very good. There's an eel. Can you find the eel? Okay, stay seated, but can you find the eel? Use your eagle eye, very good. And a shark, find the shark with your eagle eye. In the hole in the bottom of the sea. He's concealed, that means he's hidden from the shark. In the hole in the bottom of the sea, ready? There's a hole, there's a hole, there's a hole in the bottom of the sea. There's a squid, use your eagle eye. And an eel, and a shark in the hole of the bottom of the sea, who hid from the eel and the shark in the hole in the bottom of the sea. There's a hole, there's a hole, there's a hole in the bottom of the sea. There's a crab. Do you spy him? And the squid, do you spy him too? And the eel and the shark in the hole in the bottom of the sea. Claws that grab, use your claws. And a squid and an eel slithers, right? And a shark in the hole in the bottom of the sea. Here it comes, your turn. There's a hole, there's a hole, there's a hole in the bottom of the sea. There's the snail and the crab and the squid and the eel and the shark in the hole in the bottom of the sea. Leaves a trail past the crab, the squid, and the eel and the shark in the hole in the bottom of the sea. Your turn. There's a hole, there's a hole, there's a hole in the bottom of the sea. Very good. There's the weed and the snail and a crab and a squid and an eel and a shark in the hole in the bottom of the sea. Grows at speed past the snail and the crab and the squid and the eel and the shark in the hole in the bottom of the sea. Your turn. There's a hole, there's a hole, there's a hole in the bottom of the sea. Fantastic. Give yourself a little clap. Wonderful. Okay, so now we get to talk about what the ocean is. What the ocean is. It is actually a place that a lot of people live, right? So this is a very big word. I'm wondering if maybe someone would know. It starts with an H. And it's maybe someplace all around. Would you like to give it a guess? No? I thought maybe some of you would say that it would be a house, right? Because house, do you live in a house? Yeah, we live in a house, right? That's where our bed is at. We get to lay our head and eat. Yes?
A hole.
A hole. That does start with an H too, doesn't it? Because they live in the bottom of the sea. But the big, big ocean and big, big sea is actually called a habitat. Some of you were saying it. Look, I saw your lips. It's okay. You want to say it? Habitat. That's right. So it's a habitat. So all these different creatures live all together. And sometimes they bounce into each other, and sometimes they have a disagreement. And sometimes they get along because they share each other's space, right? So,
But sometimes they eat each other.
They do. That is called a food chain when it goes straight across. And if it's a food web, it looks like a spider web and it's all intertwined. But there's always one that's at the tip top of the food chain. And in this story, which creature do you think would be the top of the food pyramid? Yes.
The shark?
Yes.
The shark is eating a letter.
He's eating a letter.
The letter's over there.
Do you think that's why?
Yeah, and then he's gonna eat. I think he's gonna eat the snail, the crab, and the squid and the eel.
Probably.
The eel's trying to eat the squid and the
So who would be on this, if we were talking about a food web? Now this is really using your bright brain. Miss Chrissy's gonna open this book up and we're gonna go back to this page for a minute. There is. This is what it would look like with a food chain, okay? So it's going straight across. The first thing that was mentioned here was actually do you remember what? A weed, yes, it was a weed. So who's eating off the weed, the seaweed? Who would be the first one? Who do you think? Do you remember? Do you think the shark would eat the weed, or do you think the shark might eat maybe the eel? Or maybe the squid?
How about squid?
Maybe not.
Eel.
Huh? You think the eel, right? So he's a carnivore, right? That's a carnivore. So it actually starts with the weed, and then it will go to the snail, and then it goes all the way up to the shark.
But if the shark wouldn't want to eat the squid because it might squirt his face to put his tentacles on him and then shake him up.
Maybe, but you know what's amazing is when they go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, there's the weed, right? That's your food chain. So they are designed to be able to eat that stuff to stay alive. That's what they're designed for doing. Ready? So this says, so look out if you go to the hole in the bottom of the sea. That's what they're saying. They're saying that the shark, he is the biggest one of the food chain. He's a very, very, very top one. Ready? There's many, many whales in this habitat, right? But if you're talking about the black and white one called a killer whale, he's got very strong teeth. And but he usually doesn't eat sharks either. That's not part of his food web. There is a type of shark that actually looks like a tool.
What? I know. A hammer.
Yes, what is it called?
A hammer shark.
A hammerhead shark. So I've heard lots of boys and girls actually talking about different animals and creatures that live in our sea. I've heard hammerhead shark, tiger shark, a bull shark. I've heard a squid. I've heard maybe little fish that were after a movie like Finding Nemo, right? A clownfish. All these things live in the ocean. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna talk about liquids. So this is what? Can somebody tell me what this is?
Liquid.
It is, it's liquid, you're right, and it's a water, right? And it kind of moves back and forth, but nothing happens. This is also, what is this?
Liquid.
It's a liquid again. Is it a different color?
Yes.
It is. Can you see maybe what some differences are between these two? Yes, what do you think they are? Tell me some differences.
The water's white and the other thing's yellow.
Very good, so they're different colors, right? Now watch, if I go this way with it, can you see how it moves? And I'll come down there, boys and girls. Do you see how we can pass this around? Kind of moves pretty easy, right? But what happens when we move the yellow one? Go ahead and pass it around and see. Let your friends see what happens. Boys and girls, I'm gonna let you do the same over here. So everybody should have one bottle in front of them, okay? So what we're gonna do is, do you think we're gonna create what's called a hypothesis? Big word, right? Hypothesis, can everybody say it? Hypothesis. Very good. That means we're just gonna think about something and make a really creative guess. We're gonna guess what's gonna happen. So when you mix water with this oil, what do you think is gonna happen? What do you think? Do you think it's gonna mix? Do you think it's gonna separate?
It's gonna separate.
You think it's gonna separate. How about you?
Mix.
You think it's gonna mix. What about you? Would you like to guess? Go ahead, what are you guessing?
Change color and then more is gonna be coming up here.
Do you think that's what's gonna happen? All right, well, we're gonna see. I'm gonna have you do this first. We're gonna take off your lid on your water bottle, set it on the table, and leave it down. Now, we're not gonna lose it. The first thing that we're gonna do, what color is normally our sea? Blue, right? So I'm gonna come around, and Miss Chrissy's gonna do this because this can actually stain your clothes. So Miss Chrissy's gonna take some blue, and we're gonna add a little green in there too. Ready? Count the drops with me. 1, 2, 3. Very good. Whoa, look at that. This one is already mixed all together, but if you actually put it up to the light, it's no longer at the bottom. It's all through your water. It's all through your water. So we're gonna take a funnel, and Miss Chrissy's gonna have you hold your bottle very carefully for me, okay? So I'm gonna actually start with the last person this time. Ready? And I'm gonna pour this in. What's happening? What is happening there? Do you see where the water and the oil have separated? Do you see that anymore? Is the color separating? Oh, young man, do me a favor. Take your lid off for me.
Ew, the oil on me.
You can rub it in. It won't harm you. This oil that Miss Chrissy's actually using, you can actually cook with at home. Mom and dad, brother, sister, grandma, they probably cook with it. The blue and the green have mixed, right? Boys and girls, did the blue and green color mix?
Yeah.
They did mix, didn't they? So the oil now is mixing with the water, but what's happening to it? Was our hypothesis correct? Did it separate? It did separate, didn't it? She's gonna give you guys one of these to put in your bottle. When you are done, you're gonna come over to the hot glue gun, and you are going to carefully come over, and we're going to seal it shut so you can take it home, okay? I see some of you have already started to explore about what's happening. So we took our water liquid, right? And when we put the food coloring in, what happened? It changed. It went from the top to the bottom. It did. Just like our storybook was, there's a hole in the bottom of the sea, but there's no hole down there. But the reason why they say that there's a hole, it's a play on words. It's because it's dark and very mysterious. It's called the abyss, right? So it's very dark. It's so dark that the anglerfish actually has a flat, like a light that comes down in front to lure in its prey because it's so dark that there's nothing down there. So we took our water, our food coloring, let it drop in, and then we mixed our second major liquid, which was what? Oil. Very good. And what happened when we mixed the oil? What was the first thing that happened? It went to the bottom, and then what happened? Exactly, it bubbled up, there was air, and it bubbled to the top. Now, once your bottle has been sealed and it is dry, so take a look at it, don't touch it. Does it look like it's not see-through anymore? It looks a little bit more white? Okay, very good, so everybody should be dry. Here's what I want you to do. You're gonna take your bottle and you're gonna slowly tip it back and forth, and you're gonna take a look at the liquids inside. This is how an ocean wave is created. The salt in the water separates and it creates that wave-like motion. You are going to be able to watch the rocking motion of that going from the back to the front, to the back to the front, right? And obviously, the lower that you rock it, the smaller your wave is. But the bigger and more vigorous that you rock it, it gets all jumbled up, and you're going to get kind of a cloudy bottle like this one or a cloudy bottle like this, because these were vigorously mixed. This is what happens when the ocean gets really, really loud and angry, and a big storm called a hurricane happens. So I'm holding something up here in a see-through container. Shells. What else? Shells and sand. Where do you think this came from?
A beach.
A beach. A beach is by the sea, right? Or our ocean. And these are seashells. Do you know that things can live inside of these? Who knew that? This can be a habitat all in itself, especially ones like, whoop, Miss Chrissy dropped it. This one. This one, okay? And Miss Chrissy has some other ones that we're gonna see, but this one actually can be, now this one has the top off, but if this was a complete shell, a little guy named a hermit crab can actually make his habitat in the shell. So here's all different sizes. Miss Chrissy's gonna pass them around for you to share and explore. Very strong, and it opens and shuts, and opens and shuts. So there may be a clam. Some of the shells that are longer can be oysters that look like this. And they're longer shells, but they still do the same thing. They open and shut and open and shut and open and shut. So shells are very neat to look at and very pretty, but they actually can have animals inside and creatures inside that actually live inside. But if you felt the sand, it was very soft, wasn't it? It was very, very soft, and it kind of went through your hand. And it kind of, if you felt the salt already, it still is a little on your hand. The salt that evaporated in there is still there. Your ocean wave that rocks back and forth is created by the moons and the tide. So when day and night comes, the ocean waves get bigger and sometimes a little bit more aggressive. The seashells that get caught in that wave get broken down. So imagine how strong the ocean actually is. It's really, really strong. It breaks it all the way down, the seashell all the way down, until you get sand. So imagine how strong those ocean waves really, really are. Again, now that you have your shell in your hand, take a hold of it, squeeze it as hard as you possibly can. Hi, and thank you again for watching Armstrong Channel 20 and 100. We were here at Campbell Elementary with Mrs. McGoogan's first grade class. We're so glad you tuned in. We hope you enjoyed the activity, and we'll see you again next time. Goodbye.